all day.
It's frustration.
It's that time. It's reading time.
I can get something
yes, it's reading.
else out of it that I can't get out of it because I don't know how.
You will.
Well,
we are in the middle. We are at the beginning of reading chapter 24.
Yeah, chapter 24.
Uh-huh. And what are you reading?
I don't know yet. Let's get at that. I do know. I'm reading chapter 24 of The Snake.
The Snake 2020.
Snake 2020. Let me say this before we start into it. I've been, I don't want to complain or anything, but I've been receiving email and a few personal calls from my friends and some people who are not quite my friends, but they're saying things at this point. Okay, you've been reading about this and this and this and this and that. What happened to Asiafo, the wizard that Kojo had made this deal with in the equatorial forest in West Africa, in Ghana?
Right.
And I'm saying, as you've said, he pops up when he pops up.
Because he is a wizard, right?
Okay.
And
dramatically, as far as Kojo Bediako Brown is concerned, he is what he is, and he can't control him. And for me, personally, I have to say this, I like my shirt.
I like your shirt. The Tai Chi is lovely color on you. It looks lovely with your hat and all.
I'm glad you bought it from me.
Shades of Africa. Hi,
Shades
Renee.
of Africa.
Thank you very much, Renee.
Thanks, Renee.
On 4th Street, Long Beach.
Anyway, dramatically, what this character is doing is trying to inject himself into the circumstances as he wills it. And I guarantee you, he won't be left out of the action very long. And now here we go into chapter 24.
I guess Asiafo is saying Mimba.
Mimba. What's that mean?
I'm coming.
I'm coming. In Ghana.
In Ghana.
In Ghana, which is one of the languages in Ghana. You know, you learn quite a bit of Ghana that you would not even think about.
No, no.
Ofine. I beg you. Oiwaladon. Thank you.
Yes, so yes.
And so forth and so on. Oh boy.
Chapter 24. All right.
Kojo is calling this lady.
Akuzawa.
From this gig that he's doing in Denmark. And that's where we start. Pregnant pause. No pun intended. Kojo, I'm missing you. And I'm missing you too, baby. When will you be coming back? I'll leave here Saturday night. I'll arrive in L.A. Monday morning. I'll be waiting. You better be. Bye now. Bye. I say some of these romantic things for the exquisite benefit of my wife, who just simply loves romanticism.
I sure do.
And she's unabashedly
romantic.
Yes.
And romantic, yes.
The film was called Body and Soul, starring, I'm going into old films that people who never paid any attention to movies would not recognize, but for some of the cineasts, they'll know what I'm talking about. The film was called Body and Soul, starring John Garfield and Lily Palmer. An interesting story is a fight game of how corruption disfigures the psyche. Kojo laced his hand behind his head and stared at the film he was seeing at his mind's eye. Wonderful lighting in this film, the shadows, the harsh black and whites of the fighters in the dressing rooms under the evil glance of evil men. Canada Lee was in that movie. wonder what happened to him, to James Edwards. These were old black pioneers. They were supposed to, all of them were supposed to have been Sidney Poitier, but they didn't make it. Canada Lee was in the movie. What happened to him? And James Edwards, who was supposed to have been the first Sidney Poitier, last time I saw him, he was George C. Scott's valet in Patton. You want me to sign your shoes, sir? How many of us have been wasted like that? How many of us have been shuttled through the little door labeled oblivion? The face appeared on the ceiling as though it were a giant photograph. I see how full. He didn't laugh, smile, or make any sign to Kojo. He simply appeared for a moment and then the image blurred into thin air. He stared into the space where the face had appeared, undisturbed by the appearance. It seemed natural that his patron would look in on him. Strange, here I am, the brother who has always questioned everything, and I don't question this. He snuggled under the cover and fell into a deep sleep. Thursday, 10 a.m. He was working like a well-made Swiss watch. It was 10 a.m. He was surrounded by his trio of handlers, and they were showing 2 documentaries. They're like, he's still in Sweden. I'm sorry, he's still in Denmark.
Yes.
He was surrounded by his trio of handlers, and they were showing 2 documentaries. The life of a homeboy, the story of a gang leader, and a hard look at the drug traffic in Chicago. Crack, crack, crack. The questions were becoming more precise, more articulate. He noticed that the same people were returning day after day. We think of this as a master class in African American film philosophy. Why were your works, why were my works chosen for this exposition? I'll have to let Mr. Alborg answer that. Ah, yes, very good question. We made the choice of Mr. Mr. Kojo Bediako Brown, because number one, he has quite a substantial work for a filmmaker of his age. Secondly, the committee felt that the quality of his work was superior, and that is what we were looking for. Thirdly, we wanted to have our film student here at the University exposed to the work of an African-American filmmaker, director, writer. And finally, we felt by selecting Mr. Kojo Bediako Brown, we would be giving ourselves a look at the future. Mr. Brown, would you like to add something more? Mr. Alborg, you said it all, and I thank you. The applause, the river of students who wanted to shake his hand, chat for a moment, made him feel honored, strengthened. Are you not paid similar respect in the U.S., Mr. Brown? Unfortunately, I must say no. Damn, you mean to tell me I had to come all the way to Reindeer Land, to the heartland of Eurocentrism, to have my work validated? God does indeed work in mysterious ways. Kojo, we have a bit of a treat for you this evening. I hope you're not feeling too exhausted. Fred, Harold, Teresa, I'm ready to go anywhere with you except another authentic Danish nightclub. I'm not in the mood to be depressed. We promise you, you won't be depressed. They made a rum quartet, as a friend of his once defined it. Fred Helsinger obviously knew all of the high and low spots in Copenhagen. Harold Andersen was a loyal camp follower. Teresa Arbus reeked of class and culture. And then there's me, the melanin element.
Yes, I love it.
Smooth operator.
You got that right.
The taxi deposited him in front of a nondescript nightclub entitled Montmartre. Up some badly carpeted steps, past a velvet curtain into a spacious design room. The stage was elevated to the level of the generously scattered tables, which gave everyone a decent seat. Aha! Good. We are just in time for the second act. Kojo took a hard look at the customers. Raggedy-faced Danes, dreadlocked brothers and sisters, a few Asians scattered here and there, a mix. Fred, the good timer, was obviously a favored patron. He shook hands, laughed, told little jokes to the waitress as they were led to the best table in the house. Aha! My favorite table. Now, what shall we have to drink? Kojo checked Helsinger out with an amused look in his eyes. This guy really has gusto.
He does, doesn't
He never seems depressed and he's always willing to have a good time. A true hedonist.
Yeah.
Think I'll go with a little white wine tonight, Fred. That aquavit kicks my butt. Make that 2 white wines and you two will, of course, have the beer. Harold and Fred reached across the table to give each other high fives. Kojo was still trying to get a fix on the place. They were obviously in a musical establishment of some kind, but what kind? 10 minutes after the drinks were served, the house lights were dimmed and the players took the stage. Kojo felt himself sliding off his seat. That's Don Cherry, one of the most avant-garde musicians in the world. He almost yelled to his table mates. No. Teresa Arbus whispered back, that is Don Cherry's son.
Wow.
And that is Nana Mayuto playing the birimbao, the pandero, shekere, and all those other instruments. I hope I pronounced them correctly. The Indian man seating himself behind the tablas is the son of the late Chatur Lal. Do you know him? Strangely, I do. I've been an Indian music freak all my life. There are 2 Indian percussionists you would have to know if you liked Indian music at all. Ali Raka and Chatur Lal. And finally, the bass player, Mr. Otis Blackwell. Wow. Don Cherry II made a brief announcement. We're glad to be here. We call this One Earth Music. And our first piece, written by my father, is called Moon Fruit. Yeah, that's what he called it, Moon Fruit. 45 minutes later, Moon Fruit faded out. The combination of musical elements that seemed so incompatible, Cherry's pocket trumpet, Mayuto's birimbao, pandero and agogo, Chatur Lal's tablas, and Otis Blackwell's Latin bass style. Boom, doom, 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 boom, 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 doom, 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 boom, doom, 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 boom, doom, 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 blended into something that Kojo could only call ethereal. The audience was seriously appreciative. No foot stomping or wild cowboy yells. They knew why they were there, and they were almost cultish about it. Kojo solemnly shook hands around the table. Teresa, Fred, Harold, I thank you guys for sharing this experience with me. Oh, there's more. There's more. An hour later, they literally floated out of the club. The Moor had been a small, finely shaped African-American woman who sang in 6 languages. The songs, Siade fun leba o, Fie fun lezi oluwa, Logomarum kaju bache, Awa amore, Ire jawa o, Ire jawa o, Ire famo. Shua le balaye. Shua le balaye. Il est better mara vivale. Baba ile ago. Ago. The songs, like the instrumental music that filled them with ethereal feelings, was haunting. Kojo was especially drawn to a song she called Steps to Alabama. What is her name? She is called Kanda. She may be from a place called Wakanda. Kojo wanted to ask hundreds of questions about the quintet. How did they get together? How did two sons of two famous musicians, Don Cherry and Chatulao, meet? Who writes Kanda's music? The questions seemed irrelevant. They were there. The music was being presented to the world. Why question anything? Why question such an experience? I certainly have something to lay on Jonah's head when we start talking about musical ideas. Talking about it's to film to be, film to be, film to be, film to be. Friday morning, 8:30 a.m. Kojo had decided to do a little capoeira in the park a half block from his apartment. One thing he had noticed is that the Danes were into physical fitness and beer. Physical fitness.
And beer.
And beer.
Okay.
5 minutes into his workout, a dozen people had paused to take a closer look at the strange movements he was making. By the time he had worked up a sweat, there were at least 100 people checking him out. But they didn't interrupt his flow, they didn't ask questions. They simply observed and passed quiet comments amongst themselves. When he finished, they gave him a polite round of applause, which he responded to. And kept on about his business. I like this. People know how to appreciate what you're doing, but no need to bug you about it. I like this. Shower, shave, ready for the last day. The last day has been an interesting time. Very, very interesting. He was stunned to see 4 of his industrial training films, shorts, made for various organizations. What is the difference between a disabled person and a handicapped person? He can't see, but he can feel. Brother, can you spare a moment? We need sympathy, not ignorance. Teresa, how did you get these? We began to assemble your works months ago. We felt certain that you would accept our invitation. The afternoon session ended too soon, he felt. The questions never stopped. Why did they stop making the Hollywood extravaganza musicals? What happened to the cowboy Wild West genre? As African American actors and actresses are African American actors and actresses paid the same as whites? Would it be possible for a white man to make an African American film? What roles are given to African American women? What motivates your art? Have you enjoyed Denmark?
Yeah. Yes.
Have you enjoyed Denmark?
Of course.
And to conclude, John Alborg stood to announce that the film committee of the university had voted to give Mr. Kojo Bediako Brown a $3,500 honorarium for being willing to come and answer so many questions. Kojo caused a lot of jaws to drop when he counter-announced that he was returning the honorarium to the committee for future artistic endeavors.
Wow.
He thought they were going to shout the roof off. This is good what you have done, Jean Alborg informed him in the midst of the bedlam. Yeah! this is good. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Kojo Bediako Brown. Thank you. This is good what you've done. Jan Alborg informed me in the midst of the Bethlehem. And finally, it was over. Time to go for the lobster dinner, the Australian Riesling, and later, more of Fred Helsinger's Copenhagen. Mm-hmm. He made a firm commitment to stick it out no matter what. In the quaint Danish-style chalet restaurant, nibbling on the biggest lobster tail he'd ever seen, he casually questioned Fred about the night's activities. Mm-hmm. Oh, there are a few places I think you would like. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think you would like. Teresa will not accompany us this evening. I see.
What kind of evening is this going to be?
Good question. The Danish sky was opening with a lovely blue-yellow as Kojo staggered out of Hal Andersen's car. Oh, Kojo, what time is your flight? I think it's 1:30. Good, that will give you time to rest. We will collect you about noon. Yeah, okay, whatever. He staggered into his apartment, took a hot shower, drank a cold glass of butter-rich Danish milk. Someone had told him that it prevented hangovers, and sprawled under the covers trying to piece it together before he fell asleep. The transvestite theater. I never would have known they were men if somebody hadn't told me. The jam session. How long did we stay there? Heavy jazz sounds by visiting brothers from the U.S. and Danes who could hold their own. Everything from post-bebop to ultra-future. And finally, to top the evening off, a visit to an exclusive whorehouse.
Okay.
Excuse me? It isn't necessary to do anything, Kojo. You might like to drink a little champagne and have a little conversation with one of the girls, eh? Mm-hmm. And it's just in 2 hours. Fred Helsinger and Harold Andersen were barely inside the beautifully designed day room before they were led away by designing females. Don't worry, Kojo, we'll be back. He took a glass of champagne from a passing tray and settled back on a low-slung Danish sofa. This is real, y'all. This is real. You may think I'm reading from the book, but this is real, y'all. This is real. He liked the way it was done. Every 5 minutes or so, a woman would wander through the room and nod politely in his direction and move on. You know, like a little. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a hard sell establishment, obviously. Kojo hadn't felt the need or the urge to have sex, but it felt good to sit around a swank whorehouse sipping champagne. Mm-hmm. The look of the woman startled him. She looked familiar. He prevented her from continuing her stroll through the room. Pardon me, but did I know you from somewhere? You ever lived in Oakland, California? Not really. I know the place. I'm from L.A. Oh, Los Angeles. I have some cousins in Los Angeles. The conversation had been smooth and casual. A mutual liking, things, places in common. No real need to go into why he was there or why she was there. Oh, incidentally, my name is Arlene. Mine is Kojo. The lustful Danes, Helsinger and Andersen, joined them after a bit. Ha! Aren't you the sly one? They shared a couple bottles of champagne, laughed, jokes, and it was time to move on. There were no professional expressions of regret, nothing maudlin. They smiled into each other's face, shook hands, and that was that. Wonder how a 20-year-old sister, 25, wonder how 25-year-old sister from Oakland, California winds up in a Danish whorehouse. Yeah, truth is trying to figure odd things out. Oh well. He forced himself to wake up at 11:15 a.m. Have to get packed, scribble a few thank you notes. Kojo always try to thank people for the kindnesses they've shown you. It will earn you friends for life. Jan Alborg, Teresa Arbus, Fred Helsinger, Harold Andersen, the host and hostess of the faculty party. The notes finished, he began dumping dirty shirts, socks, and shoes into his suitcase. It definitely pays to travel light. They literally poured him on the plane after a final round of drinks at the airport bar. The goodbyes were properly given, reassurances made that they would definitely see each other again, and he was away in the Big Bird. Wow! That was a blast. That was a blast. Remembered incidents forced smiles from him during the course of the marathon naps that he took during the flight. Conversation, real and imaginary, flitted through his consciousness. The possibility of doing a West African version of Dinner with Andre. I would use 3 people instead of 2. Here we go. Fade in, scene 1. Interior, Salazar drinking bar, night. The conversation takes place over the course of a few hours. The fuel for the talk is well-chilled bottles of ABC Lager. The conversationalists are Kojo, Adule, and Carlo. I saw a television program last evening where a number of African-American youth were being interviewed on what they know about Africa in general and Ghana in particular. Their ignorance was appalling. Kojo, why would you want to react with such surprise? Think about how African Americans are educated. The majority of us tend to think that education is supposed to circumnavigate the idea of racial identity, especially for Africans in America. We are the only racial group in America that is consistently asked to forget who we are. That is a deliberate ploy to push us away from identification with Africa, African causes and aspirations. What I'm saying is that we're dealing with a 400-year-old disinformation campaign, Carlo. Most of us, incredibly, have managed to retain some knowledge of self, despite the Euro blitzkrieg. What I'd like to know, what is your excuse for not knowing more about us? Camera angle, close. Adule, this is who there are, people that I remember, there are 3 people there, Kojo, Adule, and Carlo. Adule, innocent expression. I don't know what you're talking about, my brother. I'm asking you why, Kojo here, I'm asking you why Africans don't know more about Africans in the diaspora. You make a big thing about us knowing a lot about Ghana, or how many Ghanaians know, but how many Ghanaians know much about us? Carlo, well, you must remember, my brother, what the colonials did to us. They didn't want us to have proper knowledge of Africans on the outside. Kojo, what do you think you're hearing, seeing, when they interview young African Americans say stupid things like, I'm not an African, I'm an American? Can't you see the effects of a harsher, more brutal colonization? Adule, I can see that. But how do you explain the ignorance of diasporan Africans concerning us? The computer, all of the technology and information is at your fingertips. Kojo. Yes, my sister. At our fingertips. But who controls the button that releases the information? at our fingertips. Adule. What does that mean, Kojo? It means that those who have a vested interest in keeping a veil of ignorance over our heads can do that as long as we allow them to do it. Carlo. Now then, let me ask you this, my brother. Kojo. Go for it. Carlo. You're an American, are you not? Camera angle. Kojo, defensively. I am an African American. Adule. We know that you're an African American. You've told us that often enough. But do you consider yourself an American? Kojo. Pregnant pause. Dragon sips from the river. Adule. Adule Carlo, as weird as this may sound to you, after said, I am an African in the diaspora. Carlo, does that mean that you're not proud to be an American? Kojo, no, I'm not proud to be an American, not in the sense that you're proud to be a Ghanaian. Carlo, why not? Carlo, my brother, I'm proud of what our people managed to do in America, in the Caribbean, wherever, but I can't stop waving the flag around. You have to keep in mind, both of you, that the kind of background that may breed patriotism, pride, and all of those other abstract tidbits are missing from our experience. It would be extremely difficult for me, for any conscious African American, to say that he was proud of America. I have met African Americans talk about America with great pride in Ghana here. But 99% of them were government employees. They wouldn't trust the average brother or sister to come over here because they'd be too likely to say what I'm saying. Adule. You sound like someone who is out of sync with his country. Kojo. I am, definitely. And I think most African Americans are, to some extent. Look, let's face it, we have beat the sucker's whole card, and we know what the deal is. I'm going on this chapter 25 without halting here because it seems to be flowing in that direction.
Yes, it is.
With all due respect to.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
With all due respect to, what am I doing? Respect to chapter 25. Lola Salena-Hawkins, who over there just prodding me on. You don't care what I do. You just want to just no wonder why I love you so much.
Yes,
that you're trying to say to me, go ahead, baby, go home.
Yes.
Return to chapter 25.
Yes.
Adule, puzzle expression. What does that mean in plain English? What he said to her in plain English was, Kojo, I am definitely, and I think most African Americans are to some extent. Look, let's face it, we have peeped the sucker's whole card and we know what the deal is. Adule, what does that mean in plain English? Kojo, it means that we know the character of this snake and what kind of venom he has. Carlo, my brother, you see, that's where you leave me cold. I can't make myself believe that white people are inherently evil or any different from any other people, actually. Kojo, that's what makes y'all perpetually naive Africans. I know that's cold. Now please be clear about what I'm saying. I'm saying that we have had, are having an experience with the snake that you brothers and sisters know nothing about.
Wow.
2020. Ain't got nothing to do with the book. This is something else.
Gotcha. It's amazing how he thinks nothing more but constantly on films. And he goes through a whole scene in his mind on what film he could do or which short he could do. Is just like constantly in cinema.
If I was not reading this, I would jump over there on top of you and kiss you all to pieces. Because that's exactly what this is about.
Yes, yes, yes. Read on, please.
That's what makes y'all perpetually naive Africans. Now, please be clear about what I'm saying. What Zola just got to say. I'm saying that we have had, are having an experience with the snake that you brothers and sisters know nothing about. I'm saying, for better or worse, we've been out, forced to live in this world and beat him at his own game in order to survive. Carlo. Kojo. I have some notion of what you're talking about, but it always makes me feel uncomfortable when you block it off into black/white, us and them terms. Kojo. Sorry, man. But that's the way it is. Look, right now, at this moment, the Eurocentrists, you like that better? Adelaide. I know what you mean by that term. The camera angles change. I'm changing the light. Kojo, good. The Eurocentrists are waging an all-out war on our people here in Ghana and elsewhere, and I don't see any effort being made to counterattack or even to defend Adelaide. Of course we know about the World Bank scheme to indebt us back into colonial times and all that. Kojo, I'm going beyond that, madame. Way beyond that. Carlo. Okay, go. Let's have another round. Hey, Charlie. 3 more of the same here, there in the bar. Drinking this wonderful beer. Kojo squirmed around in the seat, feeling restless after so many hours of being confined to one space. Despite the discomfort he felt, it was ideal for his twilight thinking of the Ghanaian trio version of Dinner with Andre. Kojo. Okay. I'm going to go to start from the top and go down. Here we are in Ghana here, in the middle of the rainforest, and every woman I see has her hair starched, iron fried. Adelaide defensively. And what's wrong with straightening your hair? Kojo. Adelaide, I don't want to get into right or wrong of it on a personal level. We're talking about the war, remember? Adelaide. So what's hair got to do with it? Kojo. On some levels, everything. That's the basis of my argument. We start off when I say we, I'm talking about the Eurocentric bad guys. We start off convincing the African woman that her naturally kinky hair should be straightened. In a very symbolic sense, that act of treachery causes the African woman to open a jar labeled self-hatred. The self-hatred comes from trying to take a comb that wasn't designed for your hair in the first place. Go back to the pyramids. Go back to Kush. That wasn't designed for your hair in the first place. We went through those changes in America for many years. Now here we are in Africa where the first natural combs were carved. And what's happening? All the women are frying, starching, and ironing their hair. Carlos sipped his beer, a neutral, amused expression blanketed his face. Carlo, I'm sorry, Adula, trying to be cool. Kojo, I think we have to see hair straightening as a personal matter. Not an element of this so-called war you're trying to make us see. Kojo. Adelaide, I would love to agree with you, but I can't. You know why? Adelaide, pissed. So why? So why? Kojo. Simple. We convince the beautiful African woman that her hair is ugly. We go from there to the skin, to the face, with skin bleaches and chemicals designed to lighten the skin to go along with the pressed hair. You see it on the billboards and commercials. They're constantly pushing the idea that lighter skinned women have more fun, drive fancier cars, are better cared for. Don't you see? It's called cultural imperialism. The Eurocentrists have walked in here and convinced you that they are superior. What do the blonde, blue-eyed Jesus' representation really mean? Carlo. I say, Kojo, old sock, aren't we getting a bit off the track here? The boy didn't go out there.
Right. Imagination so far.
Kojo. Oh, God. No, I'm not. I'm right on the track. Can't you see what will happen in a few years? Can't you see what has already happened? Once your children have been saturated by ads glorifying Eurocentric values, your crime rate is going to go up because the poor people who can't afford to do anything but watch American reruns are going to start to thirst for some of what they see. Drugs are coming. Different, strange, crazy new drugs that will have people throwing their babies in the ocean, killing their mothers. Crack.
He's doing all this on the plane. Wow. Okay.
That's right. You see it.
Yeah, I see him. Yeah, I see it.
Please, baby, remind me, because for a minute I thought it was real.
No, he's doing this all on the plane.
All on the plane.
Trying to figure out the new movie. Yes, indeed. Okay, go ahead.
Adule. And you're saying all this is a spin from the Eurocentric syndrome? Kojo. Well, I can't honestly say that I see a collection of Europeans sitting around a table somewhere saying, let's destabilize Ghana by stuffing the country full of false values. No, I can't honestly say that. I think it's a bigger game than that. I think the Eurocentrics are so self-centered that they don't even concern themselves with all of the elements as weapons in their war. They just simply fire their weapons and hope to kill off as many Africans as possible, either spiritually, mentally, physically, however. It could be people setting off firecrackers in Long Beach in something called the 4th of July or prior to the 4th of July, or just simply making noise for the sake of making noise because that's what the Eurocentrists have told them to do. Disturb your community. Adule. Sarcastically. And could you give us some justification for this war being waged? Kojo, that's a naive question. It's to prevent us from forming the kind of link that would make us the most powerful people on the planet. Fade out. Time to eat.
He's kept his mind occupied. She's almost ready to land. Should make those notes in his head so he won't lose it. Yes, okay. Come on, he should do it some more.
Time to eat.
Yeah.
He stared at the tray with his neatly arranged bites of this and that. Is it breakfast, lunch, dinner? It must be dinner. They're serving wine with the food. On the way back now, the funny time is over. The serious stuff is about to begin. He sketched and erased, drew and brushed out pages of sketches and ideas. Maybe I should wait until I touch a solid surface before I try to put this together. A few times, staring at the frosted clouds and mid-Atlantic, He put the whole puzzle together, the script, the production company, people, places, all of it in an instant. Only to have it slip away from him. Better get off this McDonald's fast food image kick and do it the way it's supposed to be done, inch by bitter inch. He felt anxious, but determined. As the plane circled for landing at LAX, Akuzwa was there with smiles and kisses. Well, so how was it? Akuzwa, I got some stuff to lay on you. Back in the city, back in the small. Kojo, roll up your windows, unless you want to drop dead. Yeah, you can say that again. She drove expertly, casting flirtatious looks at him from time to time. Well, come on with it, man. I've been dying to get the whole story since your phone call. Patience, love, patience. Why don't we go somewhere for a chill glass of white wine? Milanos? Our spot. Milanos at 11 a.m. on Monday morning looked like an overdressed woman without her makeup. Papa Milano himself led them to their favorite table. Nothing done yet. You want a little garlic bread or something? Just a couple of chill glasses of your white San Antonio. No problem. No problem. They sipped as Kojo began to spool it all out, the reception, the receptivity, the lack of racism, the intellectual openness. I'm not going to say that these are the perfect white folks. Nothing like that. But I have to admit that I was impressed by their appreciation of my work. I could kick myself for not checking into the publishing angle for you. I'm sure they would be interested in your work. We'll get to that, I'm sure. I'm just glad it was such a positive experience for you. It was, baby, believe me, it was. 30 minutes later, they were clinched, cinched into each other's arms, trying to make up for a week's absence.
Yes.
Afterwards, Kojo nodded off into a deep sexual catnap. It gets sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. He woke up to the smell of something delicious. Kojo, what is that? Nothing special. Eggplant, fried in olive oil, Parmesan cheese, and a little salad. Think we could sip a little vino with that? That's the way we started our day. They sat across from each other in his breakfast nook, enjoying the taste of the good food, each other's good vibes. Kojo, we're at the serious part of the story now. I know. I could tell from the expression on your face when I picked you up this morning. That obvious, huh? To anyone who knows what a determined looks like, I guess that's good. In any case, after the Danish pastries and the late nights and the applause, it's time for me to get back into putting the kind of program I need to put together to hold the dino group that I've asked to join me. Kojo circled the table and sat on his lap. When do you want me to start? Glad you asked that. I got this crazy idea in my mind of us taking a working vacation to Mexico for, let's say, a week. Kojo kissed him solidly on the nose. Good. God! You don't know how wonderful it is to have a man who can dream and hopefully make the dream come true. Don't worry about that. We're on the job. When do you want to leave? Well, I thought I'd get stuff squared away, give you a chance to tidy up your desk, and we could leave this weekend. Where to? Just meander down Highway 15 on the east side, the Gulf side, till we find a little town we like, stay a couple of days and meander on back. She surprised him by popping off of his lap and dancing around. Ooh. I love that! I love that!
Yes,
The
yes.
last... I thought I was alone.
No, go ahead.
I love it. The last trip I made to Mexico was with my parents to Mexico City about 5 years ago. And my mother, being my mother, wasn't satisfied until she had shopped at every exclusive shop in the city, dined at every posh restaurant in the city, and bored the hell out of me. Now, of course, we mustn't be hard on your parents. Remember, she's the lady who brought us together. How can I ever forget her? The following days slipped by, punctuated by odd snags and obstacles. Jonah, the genius magician, is a magician or musician?
You said magician, but she's a musician.
It's almost
She
like
makes magic with music.
the words blend together. Say it again.
Yes, she makes magic with music.
That's music.
Yes, musician. Go ahead.
The designated music score called to express pessimism. I don't think it's going to work, Kojo. I just don't see how. Jonah, rest your worries, and besides, we haven't even gotten into a script yet, let alone pre-production. Give it a chance, okay? So you're really feeling that definite, huh? More than definite, confident. Talk with you on the 3rd Sunday next month. Yeah, okay. Hope I can make it. I'll definitely have to have a Kuzwa walk her around. Patterns, the man in the gray flannel suit, business movies. He replaced the phone in his cradle and stared out of the window at the two movies strolling side by side. Van Heflin, the bright new man, replacing the old warhorse, Ed Begley, in the corporate structure. Gregory Peck, the fledgling executive, out to make his corporate mark. Wonder what's got to do with me. Oh well. A letter from Grace. Dear Kojo, just a page, a note really. I know you are probably up to your neck with projects, things to do, more power to you. Ghana hasn't been the same since you left. I'm feeling that for many reasons, the main one being the fact that I missed you a great deal. That may come as a big surprise from someone who is supposed to have an upper lip as stiff as mine. Onward. My office staff has shown a great appreciation of my presence since your departure. Smile. And life continues. I hope you had a pleasant trip back and that you'll remember to drop a few lines now and then. Love faithfully, Grace. P.S. Went to visit my Aunt Eugenia and she told last weekend, she told me to tell you to beware, to be careful. Sounds a bit mysterious to me. Kojo folded the letter in half, unfolded it, and stared at the gracefully slanting curves of Grace's handwriting. Dear, dear Grace. A bit of touchy-feely with Mom and Dad. We thought the Vikings had captured you. A bit of reaffirmation with Grandfather Kwame. You were right on the money, Granddad. Some pretty nice people over there. An obligatory Thursday afternoon with his prospective in-laws. I didn't tell them that we were going out of town together. I just thought I'd let them do their own arithmetic. So when Mom makes her frantic call on Saturday morning, she'll be able to figure out the last person I saw with him was her. Or the last person I saw with her was him.
Yes.
Friday morning. Come on, let's get out of here. They kept a conspiratorial silence from the far-flung suburbs of Los Angeles to within the sight of the San Bernardino Mountains. A cruiser broke the silence with a loud sigh. Thank God we're out of that place for a few minutes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, LA can attack your last nerve.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of people don't even know it's happening until they've shot somebody or driven into a crowd of school children.
Mm-hmm.
The car was loaded with bare necessities, a few sandwiches, water, changes of clothes. A lot of people trip off to Mexico like they're on this safari in the Sahara.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we don't have to buy on en route. I'm in your corner, Mr. Brown. I wish you had been able to convince my mother of that. San Bernardino straight through the Imperial Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go,
Mm-hmm.
the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
Straight through the Imperial Valley, kicking off into Yuma, Arizona for the first leg. Arizona sprawled in front of them, a spread out adobe platter. They were going to cross over into Nogales, Mexico from Nogales, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
The air was dry.
Mm-hmm.
The sky was blue with flecks of clouds away clear for good traveling. I'm glad we left in the morning. The evening traffic makes me feel mentally ill at times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know the feeling. They traveled it without making unnecessary commentary, a casual point with the chin at some unusual rock formation,
Mm-hmm.
or full-fledged, look at that! As a coyote chased a rabbit across the road at twilight. Time to ease up. We've done a good day's journey.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the world are we? This is a fantastic little place called Gila Bend. The Gila Bend Motel was dusty but clean, and they had showers in each cabin. Just put them in a week ago, put clean water, enjoy your stay. They showered, changed clothes, and strolled out into the desert moonlight.
Mm-hmm.
Kojo, you know this is the first time we've traveled together. Yeah, I was thinking about that myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how compatible we are.
Mm-hmm.
You don't find the need to fill up every moment with a lot of words, and we communicate on another level.
Mm-hmm.
What was that woman's name that I took to the bullfights in Tijuana, the one who never stopped running her mouth?
Mm-hmm.
Have you taken this trip often? About 6 or 7 times over the years. When we first moved to LA, my dad used to do a lot of exploring.
Mm-hmm.
We'd pile into our VW and drive to Tepic and back. But once we made it to Guadalajara and almost had to walk back.
Mm-hmm.
The distant howl of a coyote is startling. You kind of forget that there's still some wild things in the world. Why don't we go back to the hotel? Scared? No, not at all. I just feel the urge to tell you a bedtime story. As they say in Ghana. Yes, please. Exterior dawn in the desert. The morning cool desert wind whispered into the open windows of the car. Kojo hated air conditioning. It made him feel like he was living in an artificial environment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading this section for a reason. Kojo looked cool and glamorous. Kuzwa looked cool and glamorous behind her shades, just the right shade of lipstick glossing her lips.
Mm-hmm.
The road ribboned her head, seeming to flow gently up and down, but in reality only led to Tucson. We make a right turn at Tucson and head south to Nogales, Kuzwa.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been taking casual notes of all the Indian reservations we've passed, beginning in California. The Santa Rosa Indian Reservation, the Fort Humau, the Colorado Reservation, the Gila Bend, Gila River Reservation. And we've been passing the San Xavier Reservation just past Tucson. And that's just a few. I never knew there were so many reservations in this area.
Good point.
Kojo. Yeah, Indians are really America's invisible people. They settle back on the thought there was nothing else to say. Fade out. Kojo, you want me to drive for a while? You've had this since morning. I'm okay. I enjoy driving. It makes me feel like I'm in power. Good. I enjoy being driven. Makes me feel like I'm in power. The casual, brief conversation was dwarfed by the spectacle of the country swallowing them. The glazed distances slowly dissolved into hazy lakes, mirages that promised cool drips and delivered hot desert winds and parched throats. Let's stop for a cold draft beer. A right turn at Tucson and southward to Nogales. They hadn't talked about Kojo's film idea or the outline for Kurzweil's next book. They felt the urge to drift at 60 miles an hour, shaking off the frenzied tempo of the place they had left the day before. A few times during the course of a long stretch of highway, Kojo felt the whole of his film project bloom in front of him, how all the pieces would fit, how the pieces would be written, how the actors would play it, the music that would space it, the whole thing.
Stay focused. You're driving.
You got that right. It was there for a few seconds and then it faded, leaving him with only one or two sections to think about. Shit.
Driving, come on, yeah.
What are you smiling about? Oh, just tripping on what the creative urge can do with your head. I know. I've rewritten the ending of my book about 4 times in 4 different ways in the past hour. He surreptitiously studied her profile. Thank God. I love a woman. It would really be a drag to have to marry someone you didn't love. The thought of what he had to do made him tighten his grip on the steering wheel. Time was running out for me. We have to get married down here. Nogales straight ahead and then the other side. El Norte slid through his consciousness as Kuzwa dealt with the surprised customs people in her academic but correct Spanish.
War.
Espanol.
Yes, that comes in handy.
You got that right. El Norte, the Spanish, El Norte, the Mexican quest to go north to get to where the goodies are. The tortured couple that crawled through a drain pipe full of rats. The human bloodhounds sniffing around for a scent that would send them back. And now here we are heading to El Sur for another kind of goodie. What a crazy world. Okay, Senor Ram, we could go now. That didn't take long. But honest corruption goes a long way. The general over there, the one with the cigar and the pregnant-looking belly, is a professional fixer. I gave him $20 and he walked the whole thing through. We have insurance coverage, which means practically nothing.
Exactly.
We have visitors permits, the whole thing. Let's go. Vamos. I'm impressed, my lady. All it takes is a bit of rudimentary Espanol. The great Sonoran Desert opened up in front of them, hot, dry, and windless. Wow, coming through Arizona is like heading into the mouth of the furnace. This is the furnace. You got that right. We'll have to go through here for a stretch before we get to the ocean at Guaymas, and then there'll be Hermosillo. The plots of desert, ocean, desert survival tales swam through the back of a Kuzwalan brain. The 3 men who found themselves stranded in the desert. Kojo would know the movie, one of the few John Wayne movies I ever saw. 3 Godfathers.
Yes. That
That's
was
the
a good
one.
That was the good one.
With that gorgeous Pedro Amenderes with his beautiful almond eyes and lovely brush mustache. The three godfathers discover a woman about to give birth. The baby is born and they struggle to walk it through the desert. Of course, the gringos find a way for Pedro to commit suicide that he won't have to clutter up things in the end. And of course, John Wayne makes it to the town of New Jerusalem conveniently on Christmas Day. Miles of sandy earth relieved by splashy little splotches of desert plum, blooms, and other more unbelievable sights. Kojo, did you see those children? What can they possibly be going out here? He stopped the car and backed up a couple of 100 yards. 4 boys and 3 girls. The oldest about 10 years old. The children stared at the couple in the car. Kojo asked them if they could give them a lift. She wasn't sure that "Quieres usted un viaje?" conveyed the proper message, but their mimicking was unmistakable. "Quieres usted un viaje?" They smiled shyly. The oldest boy announced gravely that they were going a year there. He flopped his arms at some indiscriminate point away from the road. Kojo offered them water, and each one took 2 tiny sips. "Gracias," the oldest spokesman said, and tipped the brim of his small sombrero. "De nada," Kojo responded and slowly geared up again. Where do you think they were going? Where do you think they were coming from? That was the question. Miles of beautiful, sandy, yellow, deathly dry desert. They sipped water to relieve the idea of thirst. Occasionally, they passed another car going in the opposite direction. Kojo, did you say this was a well-traveled road? Oh, yeah. This is Highway 15, a major artery. We'll be in Hermosillo in a few hours. After a brief stop in Hermosillo to do a little supermarketing, Kojo, how about a bottle of this? They found themselves eagerly sniffing the fragrant breeze coming from the Gulf of Mexico, sometimes called the Gulf of California. And this is what it looked like when the brother got there.
Okay, well, yes. Okay, there's Kojo there and the beach in California. You have a color picture there, but okay, we'll look at
yes.
that.
Do I?
Yes, you do.
I don't know if it's going to be possible to find it in a minute, but I'm going to try because I know how much it means to have gone through all of this desert and all of these things that people have to go through that you wind up at.
There it is.
This is Kojo at the ocean
Kojo.
who made it through the desert. My God.
There he is.
But he can't
Kojo
drink the water
at
because it's salty.
Yes, it's salty. But he's there in his African garb. How nice. Good to see Kojo. Okay.
Okay, I haven't gotten to that point.
Yes.
We're going to stop here. I think we're at channel 25 or chapter 25. And we'll see what happens. I'll tell you one thing.
Yes, yes.
They're getting ready to get down.
I understand that. He's driving in the
And I appreciate your eloquent interpositions and ejaculations.
It's so nice that he's marrying a woman who, in her mind, she works on her book. Okay, she doesn't have to, and he's working on various aspects of films he wants to do. You know, I mean, and creative people are like that. You know, you sometimes wonder, do I need to entertain them? No, they're entertaining themselves, or they've got their minds on things that you cannot see.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you this, and this goes for those of us who know what we're talking about. I am not going to be able to get into the same frame of reference that you've been into as a practitioner of family law and as a counselor for maybe thousands of people. If you could just say 1,000, that might be enough. But thousands of people who have not been able to coalesce and act as a coherent couple. You know, I'm saying this to you point blank without malice or forethought, as they say in law. So many of us who have what might seem to be divergent interests are able to coalesce these interests in a way that makes everybody's goals possible. In the same way that you videotaped me here now. I've never had this happen before. And you know, I've been married 43 times.
No. I'm your last wife.
My eyes betray what I just said.
I am your last wife.
But the whole
Yes.
but the whole point is of what I'm saying is that if you, in this instance, I'm trying to fuse a couple together who have different artistic aims. She's purely a writer. She's a novelist, and he's a cineast. His thing is interested in what's
Visual.
on the screen and so
visual.
But before you get something on the screen and you establish it in a coherent way, you have to have a writer.
Right.
One of the things that happened in Hollywood early on is that I think that the early pioneers of what could have been their industry turned it over to the producers, to the bankers. When people were doing stories, Charlie Chaplin is a good example. As the latter day example, I would choose the Bud Schulberg, who were, you know, on the waterfront, where the writers lost control of what it is that they want to have on screen and gave it over to the bankers. It became a game of money, and the story time was over. And that's all I got to say about that, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, your book, The Snake 2020, can be purchased on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Author House, or your local bookstore. Just go in and say, I want The Snake 2020 by Odie Hawkins, ODIEHAWKINS. You are also on the author's page, and your website is www.odiehawkins.com.
Okay, let me just simply interpose it.
Yeah.
Alfred,
Andrea.
my brother, James, my brother, Mr. Carruthers, because I know you pay attention to these things.
Hi, Roger.
Let us know what you think. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
All right. Totally enjoyed the reading myself, okay? And yes, I did. Thank you for reading all of that.
I don't care what anybody else says.
Yes, the wife enjoyed it. Okay,
It's you, baby. It's you. It's you.
So, others out there, if you've enjoyed these moments in time with Odie and Zola, please subscribe to our channel, and we will see you again tomorrow.